On his YouTube channel, Michael Bisping recently attacked Ariel Helwani once more and called him a bell end. It happened when Bisping reacted to Jon Jones finally speaking up and stating that the UFC is working on a major project with Aspinall, but he is not yet ready to make the announcement. Ironically, Bisping concurred with Ariel this time, stating that he also thinks Jones versus Aspinall, the greatest heavyweight bout ever, is actually imminent. But Bisping couldn't help but make a joke, dropping the bell-end line with that trademark Bisping cynicism, even as he supported Helwani's claim. This isn't fresh beef, of course. For years, these two have been exchanging shots. Ariel once dubbed Bisping a Dana White bootlicker and criticized him for being a power slap pundit. Bisping publicly retaliated by making fun of Ariel's demeanor and reporting style. The bout between Jon and Tom for the heavyweight title has been drawn out. The fans are growing agitated. Everyone is simply waiting for the UFC to intervene, and the division has been frozen. Thus, even if Bisping and Ariel may be disparaging one another, at least they have one thing in common. This big battle is long overdue and is about to happen.
Is he actually telling the truth? My guess is that he's telling the truth. My guess is that he will take the fight. Ariel Helwani came out recently and said, oh, apparently he asked for a crazy number, and the UFC met it. And he didn't think the UFC would do that. So now he turned down the fight. To be fair, Ariel Helwani, as much of a bell end that he is, he does find stuff out. He does weasel his way. He does call people up. He does annoy them. He'd get the inside scoop a lot of the time, and he has no problem revealing it. We know that. So maybe there was some truth to that. But this, of course, goes against everything. Now, this will be the biggest heavyweight fight that the UFC has ever seen. Jon Jones will probably get one of the biggest paydays the sport's ever seen. In fact, the only person I think that could even rival this would be a Conor McGregor. He's the biggest earner that the sport's ever seen. This fight's going to be gigantic. Jon Jones is going to get paid a shitload of cash. And if it does actually happen, if it goes down in Madison Square Garden, which is what I always said it would, because a fight of this magnitude needs an iconic venue, then everyone's going to get paid a shit to the money.
Sean Ali is gradually disclosing the reasons for his initial altercation with Merab Devales. He acknowledged that his overconfidence contributed significantly to the defeat, claiming that he had overestimated the Georgian's ability to be unrelenting, particularly if Suga was unable to finish. Additionally, he disclosed that he was battling an injury before the fight, but did not want to withdraw because of the UFC, particularly since the fight was a part of the historic Sphere event in Las Vegas. Even though he wasn't feeling well, he didn't want to miss the evening. As we go forward to UFC 316, it looks like this rematch will be particularly memorable. For his second title defense, Merab is filling in. It's a full circle occasion, not just a rematch, this time against the man he took the title from. Sean has the opportunity to demonstrate that the first time wasn't the end of the narrative. It's another chance for Merab to prove that he is the Bantamweight Mountain's king. The plot is self-evident, and the stakes are really high. It's about legacy, not just about redemption. It may be one of the most significant bantamweight bouts in recent UFC history, so with all eyes on this card, expect both men to give it their all.
I was proud of my performance considering how I felt going into the fight. And I don't want to have excuses like, oh, it wasn't a great camp, but it was a good camp for what I was able to do. So, you know, I don't want to say overconfident, I was underestimating Merab's skill. I know how good he is, I just believed in myself that much. So, looking back on it, yeah, I probably shouldn't have accepted the fight. I tore my labrum, my hip, 10 weeks before the fight. 8 weeks before the fight, Hunter calls me and said, hey, you got the Sphere. And I was like, I'm not gonna turn that down. Like,
right.
I'm like, so it's whatever. I think it's gonna make it that much sweeter of a victory after having to lose to him. So, but yeah, I'm happy with where we're at right now.
Khamzat Chimaev is the unbeaten Chechen, and Arman Sukian has revealed something important about him that is already causing a stir. Arman trained with Khamzat and saw things that most fans would never see. Additionally, he believes that the entire Khamzat gets fatigued story is inaccurate. In fact, it's the opposite of a cardiac issue. Khamzat trains so hard and mercilessly that he is exhausted from war zone sparring sessions by the time he enters the cage. According to Arman, the man repeatedly passes through 5 or 6 new people in the gym, overpowering, dropping, and without slowing down. Shahrukh Khan isn't the first to comment on Khamzat's incredible cardio during training, and that wild intensity doesn't leave much left over when fight night comes. Several of his former teammates, including Khamzat Chimaev, Michael Venom Page, Jalen Turner, and Alexander Gustafsson, have told their stories of Khamzat's extraordinary work ethic. The performances of Khamzat, he has already pushed himself to the limit before the cage door even closes, so it's not about fading. Arman continued after that. He also discussed what he thinks Islam Makhachev would do after winning the welterweight belt, and when he thinks Makhachev will retire. This is Armin's interview with Kamil Gadv, a Russian reporter. When the weight is reduced to 170, Islam will likely reply, "I'd rather not go back down. I believe he will win the title and remain there to defend it. I believe he will defend the title twice before retiring, and everyone will be okay with it." To be honest, things have changed at 170. I recall complete dominance during the Usman era. He insisted that he was the favorite in every bout and that weight controlled everything. But after losing to Edwards, chaos broke out, and the title has been passed around a lot ever since. Now nobody could challenge Khamzat if he were still at 170. Even at 185, I don't think anyone can really compete with him because he's so good. He's simply exceptional. I have trained with him, therefore I am aware of his true nature. I don't think it's accurate to imply that he gets fatigued easily. He pushes himself, based on my observations during training. He trains too much. He spars with 5 or 6 men in quick succession, knocks one out, ruins another, and never lets up. That's why he ends up into fights compromised, in my opinion. He pushes his body above its limits in advance, not because of poor cardio. UFC middleweight Shara Bullet and Khamzat Chimaev recently made headlines in Russia after Shara disclosed that the two got into a heated altercation in a Moscow subway station. Fans are giddy over the news, which was revealed during Shara's interview with Russian media. The relationship between Khamzat and Shara wasn't always harmonious. They used to disparage one another's records, particularly after Khamzat made fun of Shara's prowess in wrestling. However, things have changed recently. The two have been connecting whenever they're in Russia, working out and socializing together thanks to mutual acquaintances and same management. Shara claims that the link was put to the test in real life only a few days ago. He claims that as they entered a Moscow metro station, a furious altercation with 4 locals erupted, reportedly over a shoulder bump. That tension swiftly escalated into a full-fledged fight. According to Shara, 2 of the men were knocked unconscious during the altercation. The story has gone viral when he gave the Russian YouTube channel Usha Taika access to the outrageous details. Although the video hasn't been released yet, you can bet that it will cause a stir on the internet if it does. Furthermore, the idea of both men fighting in public is incredibly cinematic, given how lethal they are in a cage. Now let's get started with Shara's interview. These 4 men simply stood there as if they were in charge of the establishment. Extremely noisy and annoying. They made no attempt to move or offer room as we approached the doors, so it went unnoticed. I checked one of them on the shoulder and continued going. Then, as if to attract our attention, we heard a whistle behind us. One of them screamed out for us to come over when we turned around, so we did so to see what he wanted. The harsh and arrogant attitude was immediately apparent. "Let's go outside," one of them urged, grabbing my arm and attempting to drag me toward him. You will observe what transpires. We lost our temper at that point. The fight started when we both dove in. 2 of them fled and the other 2 were knocked